Hello, everybody. Welcome. We've just opened up the room, so we're just going to give everyone a chance to shuffle in. My name is Nahil. I'm the Community Engagement Manager for Forum, and we're very excited to be having you all joining us today for our webinar that is in partnership with DataCite. Our speaker, Mohammed Mustafa, is with us as well today. So like I said, I'm just going to give everyone just a couple of seconds just to jump in, and then we'll get started. If anyone is joining us from the UAE or Oman or anywhere from that area, I hope that you're all doing okay after the flooding and after the mayhem that happened last week. And that everybody's possessions are safe and that you are all also safe, inshallah. I'll wait until 2 past and then we'll get started. It is 2 past, so we will get started. All right, well, welcome to the Adoption of Persistent Identifiers in MENA, Challenges and Opportunities. We are hosting this event in partnership with DataCite, and our speaker today, Mohammed Mustafa, will be walking you through the details of this topic. So thank you all for joining us. First, before we get started though, I'm just going to run through a few housekeeping slides. Firstly, I'm sure we all know how to use Zoom by now, but just in case anyone is new, Zoom has a movable window and it has also different features. So if you're joining us during your workday or while you're studying or doing any research, you can always just minimize us and continue on along in the conversation with us, have us kind of playing in the background. If you feel at any point that any of myself or the speaker, Muhammad, is speaking too fast, please use the raise hand feature, and that will be a signal for us to slow down our pace. If you have any technical issues, or if you'd like to introduce yourself in the chat, which we encourage, or just want to start up a conversation, please do use the chat feature. However, if you have a question for our speaker that is content related, please use the Q&A box. We're doing our best to monitor the chat, but some questions, if they get put onto the chat, may end up being missed because during the Q&A, we will only really be focusing on the Q&A box. So please do, excuse me, use the Q&A feature if you have any content related questions. And before we get started on the actual talk, just a little bit about the forum. I would hope that by now many of you know what the forum is. But we are a nonprofit membership organization supporting the advancement of open science policies and practices in research communities across the Arab region. We do this through 4 main pillars. We support the advancement of open science ecosystems in higher education institutions. We create resources that are localized for this region and are more accessible to help boost policies and practices across the region. We encourage collaboration community is at the heart of everything that we do. And we are working to champion right to left functionality in key open source and open science technological solutions. We ourselves are struggling with that as the forum. We're still looking for technical solutions that help us communicate with our members in both Arabic and English. So we're very aware of how important working on that development is. And a little bit about what we do. We have 3 main pillars. Sorry, yeah, next slide, thank you. We have 3 main pillars. We have the CDAs. So today's event is an example of that. They're community development activities where we host workshops, webinars, working groups, and discussion forums. We have resources, as I've mentioned. So we have a journal that we're developing that will hopefully be released this year. We have guidance resources, right to left infrastructure development. And then finally, we have our annual forum, which is the heart and soul of forum. And it's hosted in October every year. And we've actually already just announced last week or 2 weeks ago the call for papers. And we'll talk a little bit more about that after the talk with Mohammed. But so without any further ado, I will now introduce our speaker, Mohammed Mustafa, who's the Regional Engagement Specialist of the MENA region at DataCite. And I'll give you the floor. Please go ahead, Mohammed.
Thank you so much, Nahid, for the introduction, and I'm really happy again to be with the Forum for Open Research in MENA. Before I start with my presentation, I would like to remind everyone, if you are an Arabic speaker, we did an Arabic version of the same talk last December, so feel free to check it on the YouTube channel. I hope that you all can see my screen right now. So yeah, let's get started. The adoption of persistent identifiers in MENA, challenges and opportunities. I am Muhammad Mustafa, the Regional Engagement Specialist for the Middle East and Asia at DataCite. So before we start, let's start with a quick introduction about persistent identifier. So what is the definition of a PID? PID, or persistent identifier, is usually a unique alphanumerical string that refers to a digital resource. Persistent identifier usually take the shape that you can see at the left side of the screen. So this is a persistent identifier. And then that persistent identifier will always point to a digital resource. That digital resource will have a metadata representation about that resource. So what are the different types of persistent identifiers? So far, we have three main types of persistent identifiers. The first one is persistent identifiers that can be assigned for digital object. In the context of research, we are talking about research outputs and the resources like journal article, thesis, dissertation, samples, and images. And one of the most famous examples of persistent identifiers for research outputs is the digital object identifier, or the DOI, which is the core point that we will highlight and talk about it today. The second type of persistent identifier is we have persistent identifiers that can be assigned for people. Like in the context of academic research, we are talking about academic researchers and contributor. And the most famous persistent identifier in that context is the ORCID ID. And then the third type, with this kind of new or relatively new, the research organization ID, the persistent identifier that can be assigned for universities and research institutions. I included here a couple of examples for the persistent identifiers that can be assigned for research organization. So the ROR has been developed in the year 2019 through a collaboration between DataCite, Crossref, and California Digital Library, CDL. The three organizations came together to launch the Research Organization Registry, an open registry for universities and research institutions. I included two screenshots that you can see on the screen now. The first one is the ROR ID for university in UAE, United Arab Emirates University. And you can see also at the right side of the screen, the ROR ID for Cairo University Hospitals. So the ROR ID is an unique identifier that is being assigned for universities and research organization in general. The second type is I included here two different examples for ORCID ID. So ORCID ID allows the academic researcher to create their own profile. They can add their own bio, and then they can always add their academic contribution, their contribution to the research community. So if they published an article, it can be added under the record as a journal article. If, for example, they attended a conference and they made a presentation, they can always add this presentation as part of their academic contribution to the community. So ORCID ID is a unique identifier that can be assigned for academic researchers and the contributors who are affiliated with the research community in general. Regarding DataCite, so who we are. DataCite, we are a global community that shares a common interest. Our goal is to ensure that all research outputs and resources are openly available and connected so it can be reused to advance knowledge across and between disciplines and now in the future as well. So as a community at DataCite, we make research more effective. How we do that? Through the metadata information. We use these metadata information to connect research outputs and the resources. And when we talk about research outputs, we are talking about all research outputs. We are not talking about journal articles only, but we are talking about samples and images, data sets, and the preprints. So we enable the creation and management of persistent identifier. We are a DOI registration agency. We provide our members with digital object identifier. We also built integrated services to improve the discoverability, visibility of the research outputs, as I will explain later in the presentation. On top of that, the end goal is to facilitate the discoverability and reusability of all these research outputs and resources. We are a non-profit organization registered in Germany since the year 2009. The current DataCite community, we have more than 3,000 repositories connected with us and using our infrastructure to get digital object identifier or DOIs for their various research outputs and the resources. And it's important here to clarify that the word repository in the DataCite terminology can refer to an institutional repository at a university, or a specific data repository, or a specific electronic thesis and dissertation repository, or even a preprint server or a publishing system, for example, that is using OGS. So the word repository refers to all these different systems within the DataCite community. We have members from 52 countries. So far, we have issued more than 55 million DOIs, and overall, our community of organizations are growing, and we have around 1,400 organizations in our community so far. So, as I mentioned, we are a DOI registration agency. We provide our members with DOI. DOI is that persistent identifier that can be assigned for research outputs. So this is a quick overview about the DOI structure. The DOI consists of 3 different parts. The first part is the proxy, doi.org. So this proxy is the DOI system coming from the proxy server. And then we have the prefix. The prefix is unique to each repository. So if you have a specific repository at your university, we will assign a unique prefix for your repository. And that prefix is being assigned to DataCite by the International DOI Foundation, which is DataCite is like a co-founding organization within the DOI Foundation organization. And then we have the suffix. The suffix usually changes according to the research outputs because it's a unique to a specific research output. So once within our infrastructure, the suffix will be assigned. We will create a suffix automatically for your research output. So if you're registering, for example, 10 different theses, each thesis will get its own suffix automatically within our infrastructure. So what are the types of research outputs that DataCite DOIs can support your organization with? Our DOIs can work with a wide range of research outputs, but we categorize them in 2 main categories here. The first one is the materials that are associated with a specific research process, such as research datasets, collections, associated workflows, software script that has been written or coded while conducting a specific research process. We have also the images and the models that are associated with a specific research process. The second type that DataCite DOIs can support your organization with is what we call the gray literature. And here we are talking about thesis, dissertation, conference proceeding, conference presentations, report, student project, all these materials, technical standard, preprint article, the initial version of the article before submitting it to a publisher. By depositing it into your repository, you can get a DOI for that, which is really, really important. So all the materials that usually the institutional repository at the university or at the institution will be the primary point of publication. I included here a screenshot from the DataCite registry to give you an overview about the 1,400 organizations that are member in the DataCite community and the types of research outputs that they are registering through DataCite infrastructure. So we have dataset, we have physical object, we have text, we have members who are registering images. Some members are registering collections, software code, audio and video, visual files that are related to a specific research process, dissertation and thesis, reports, data management plan, books and book chapters, sound files, even models and workflows. So as you can see, a wide range of research outputs are being recognized and registered with the digital object identifier. So the DOIs are not limited only to the journal article. It's great that the level of the adoption within the journal articles is good right now at specific communities, but what we want to do with DataCite is to increase the awareness about the importance of registering all research outputs with DOIs, because I'm sure you agree with me, like data sets or samples, the images, dissertation, thesis, all these research outputs and the resources are like an important and valued part of the scholarly record. It should be also recognized, it should be also identified, it should be also be cited. I included here a couple of screenshots from our community who are registering DOIs for their research output. One of our active members in Asia is the National Research Council of Thailand, and they are doing a fantastic job by registering local and regional data sets in Thai language and integrating it with DOIs. Another screenshot from our member in Singapore, and as you can see, they are registering DOIs for their university reports and the staff publication that they are depositing at their publishing at their institutional repository. Another DOI for a doctoral thesis, another DOI for a software script that has been written while conducting a specific research process. The researcher in that case uploaded it to the repository and got a DOI. So now that software script is being shared globally with the community. Anyone can check it, anyone can access it, anyone can reuse it. So instead of wasting their time as a researcher to rewrite the same script again, I can find this script with the DOI, I can download it, I can access it, and I can reuse it. So it will save the time of another researcher. Another example here is the usage of DOIs for images, maps, and models. So we get that question a lot. So I am using, for example, handle in my repository as an identifier. So like, why should I switch to DOIs? We will talk in the next slides about the importance and the value of the DOIs in general. But here, let me give you a quick overview about the power of persistent identifiers and DOIs in particular. So I included here an example. This is a live demo. I hope that you all are seeing my screen now. So what we are trying to do now is to explore or retrieve the metadata information about this DOI. So what I did here, I pasted this DOI and I want to format it according to APA style, let's say. So once I click on format, what is happening right now is this website is going to the registration agency of the DOI to try to retrieve the metadata information about this particular DOI. So let's see the result that I received. I can see I received all the authors' names, the publication year of that research output. I think this is the title of the publication. It seems it's like a conference proceeding. I can see the location, I can see the year, I can see like the publisher series title, and I can see the DOI. So this is really shows the power of the DOIs. A lot of discovery engines now, submission system within the publishing, the research community are adopting digital object identifier at a large scale. So when you get a DOIs for all your research outputs and the resources, all the metadata information that you are registering for your DIs will become accessible. Anyone can retrieve this metadata information. This can lead to more visibility and impact. So this will lead us to the next slide, talking about DOI's value and impact. So in general, DOIs can really help you as a researcher, can help your institution in the following points: improve the visibility and discoverability of all your research outputs. It will also enhance the accessibility of your outputs. As we all know, the term persistent, because it's always accessible. So let's say that you are changing the repository of your existing instance from a URL to another URL. You're not going to lose all these materials if you have DOIs, because what you need to do in that particular case is to go to the infrastructure and start updating the URL. So if you have DOIs for 100 theses, what you need to do is, instead of redirecting them to specific URLs, the old one, you can just ask the infrastructure to update the URL from URL1, let's say, to URL2. So it's always persistent. So if this DOI has been shared before, like 2 or 3 years ago, before that change, and I am clicking on the DOI now, after the change, I will always be redirected to the new URL. So it's always accessible, regardless any structure changes that can happen to your repository or publishing or management system. It's really important also to understand the value of DOIs in the context of research data sets, because using persistent identifier in general and the DOIs in particular can really make all your research outputs and the data sets aligned with the FAIR principles that highlights the importance and the value of maximizing the reusability of the data sets. When you also use DOIs for your thesis, for your samples, for your dissertation, for your image, for your conference presentation, you're also supporting recognition for all these research outputs. You're also increasing your chances and your institution's chances in getting more and more citation. What you also are doing when you connect a repository with all these research outputs with DOIs, you are connecting it with the global ecosystem. As I said, a lot of discovery engines, a lot of citation databases now are relying on digital object identifiers, DOIs, for discoverability. So you are connecting your research outputs with the global ecosystem. Overall, you are increasing the impact of your university, of your institution. And by doing so, you are also promoting the importance of open research, and in particular, open research infrastructure. So in the first part, we talked about the DOIs, the types of research outputs that we can support. But as I mentioned in the introduction slide about DataCite and who we are, I mentioned that we also support the discoverability of research. So based on a fund that we received from the European Union, we developed a platform called DataCite Commons. Within DataCite Commons, we are displaying all the 55 million DOIs that DataCite has issued, along with some DOIs are coming from Crossref, another partner to DataCite. These particular DOIs that are coming from Crossref are the DOIs that cited journal article DOIs that cited research items with a DataCite DOI. We also have an integration with ORCID API within DataCite Commons. We have the same integration with the ROR ID, or the Identifier for Research Organization. So within Commons, we are also trying to understand the relationship between all these different objects within the research infrastructure. So this is like an example of the beauty of persistent identifiers and the power of persistent identifiers, because of the ROR ID for organization and the ORCID ID for academic researchers, and the DOIs for the various research outputs, such as software script or data sets through DataCite DOIs, or even journal article through Crossref DOIs. And the funder ID now is even now being transitioned from funder ID Crossref to be under the research organization registry. We are able to track the relationship through what we call PID graph, or persistent identifier graph, to understand the relationship between all these different objects within the research infrastructure. So within DataCite Commons, it's, as I said, it's an open platform for everyone. You can access it, you can use it free of charge. You can find the data set, you can find the thesis, you can find the dissertation, you can find the sample, you can find a DMP, data management plan. You can find all these research outputs. We're also bringing citation to the table through the persistent identifier. This is an example for a data set with a DataCite DOI, and through the DOI, because we are tracking the DOI for the journal article that cited this one, we are able to count the citation that this data set has received. We are also supporting recognition for the contributors of and the creator of all these research outputs by displaying their names and displaying also their affiliated institutions. We have an open dashboard. So this is an example from one of our community members, the World Agroforestry Center. So as you can see, they are a DataCite consortium organization. We have this open dashboard for them. You can track the total number of works, the total number of citations that this institution has received, the views and downloads and the other identifiers about this institution as well. And overall, DataCite DUIs are discoverable and visible within or across different discovery engines. I just included here some examples like the DataCite search and OpenAir discovery database. One of the main topics that we are going also to discuss today is what are the challenges to increasing the persistent identifiers and DOIs, in particular, increasing the adoption within the MENA region. So there are a couple of challenges within the MENA region. There are low levels of awareness about persistent identifiers in general and the value of persistent identifiers. So thank you so much again for giving this platform for us to speak and talk to the community to increase the awareness. There is low levels of understanding for the value of persistent identifiers. There are also in some communities, what we have seen is some technical gaps as well. There are also lack of national persistent identifiers policies within a specific community, and within some communities also we are seeing financial barriers that preventing them from joining and using DOIs for their research outputs. At some communities also, we have lack of underlying open research infrastructure. And overall, and I think you may agree with me, let me know in the Q&A box your views on this. There are also lack of national open science policies across a specific countries, like national open science policy for a whole country. We are not seeing this in the Arab world and the MENA region in general yet. So in order to help with increasing the global adoption for persistent identifier, DataCite took the initiative to launch a program called the Global Access Program. So we launched this program in Feb 2023 through in part through a fund that we received from the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative. Our aim is to increase the global persistent identifier adoption and improve equity and access also to our persistent identifier infrastructure in the following underrepresented regions in our community right now. We are talking about Africa, we are talking about Latin America, Middle East, and Asia. And in order to do that, DataCite took a comprehensive approach. And our comprehensive approach has three main elements or components. The first one is outreach, the second one is technical infrastructure, and the third one is a funding element. So within the outreach element, what we started doing last year is to analyze the needs and education opportunities per region, developing localized materials to talk to each community in their own language about best practices, policies, guides as well. We're also building that platform of collaboration with the leading organization within the regional communities. We launched an ambassador program. We just announced the first batch of the ambassador early this year. We're also working on publishing case studies. You can find them at our blog about how different stakeholders from these regional communities are using DataCite. I included here a couple of screenshots from our webinars that we did in different languages, Spanish, English, talking to the African community, Arabic, and we did the specific ones even to the Indian community. And we have plans for more and more regional webinars and regional events coming up. As I said, also, we launched an ambassador program. We want to speak to the community in their own language. So we launched an ambassador program. We started with 9 ambassadors for this year. As you can see, they are across different regions. We have 2 ambassadors from the MENA region. We have Shukri from Tunisia, and we have also Masoud from Saudi Arabia. The second component within DataCite Global Access Program is an infrastructure component. So within this one, what we are doing is we are analyzing the underlying infrastructure within the gap regions. In that particular, the MENA region, we also collaborating with the repository platform service providers to establish a user exchange groups so they can exchange knowledge and reshare code, integration code in some cases. I included here a couple of charts that are going to be published soon about the Middle East and North Africa analysis. I prepared the report. I think we are aiming to publish it within May or June at least. So here you can see we use the standardized data sources like ROAR, OpenDOAR. We use these standardized data sources to track the underlying repository infrastructure in the MENA region. We also expanded the scope to cover the service provider, the scope of which repository software are being used in the MENA region. So to have a clear understanding about the underlying infrastructure in the Middle East and North Africa region, so we can build up on that report, share recommendation to the community, start knowledge exchange group within specific communities. The third component of our Global Access Global Access Program, is a funding component. So we launched a Global Access Fund last year to enable organizations worldwide to make their research outputs discoverable and visible within the community. It was an open call for all non-for-profit university and research institutions across Africa, Asia, Middle East, and Latin America community. We received more than 185 applications. So this highlights again, financial barriers that can exist at a specific communities. We are trying to overcome this problem and help also the community by providing this funding opportunity. We are working towards 2024 Global Access Fund, so keep an eye at our blog if you are interested to apply for a university or research institution. We have 2 awardees that we are working with them from the Middle East region. We have the National Center for Documentation in Tunisia, CNUDST. We are working with them. They got an infrastructure development grant, so we are working with them. We have also the Arab Council for the Social Sciences in Lebanon. They are going to do more of outreach activities, promotional activities about the value of open research infrastructure and the digital object identifier. Regarding the adoptions in the MENA region, so given all the challenges that I mentioned, we still have members and community in the Middle East. It's still at the early stages, but we do have members from the Middle East and North Africa region. I included here a case study to show to the community who are attending this webinar. One of our members, the King Abdullah University for Science and Technology in Saudi Arabia. So we have a fantastic university repository. We call it the KAUST Research Repository. And within that repository, we have a wide range of research outputs, as we will see in the next slide. But the adhering that for each research output, they are going to register a DataCite DOI for that research item. So within the KAUST Research Repository, they have articles, they have book chapters, they have books, they have a conference paper, they have data sets, they have posters, they have preprints, they have a wide range of research outputs. It's a fantastic use case for an institutional research repository where they are collecting all these research outputs from their faculty members, putting it at repository, where in some cases, the repository will be the primary point of publication, such as posters, preprints, and the presentation. It will be the primary point of publication will be the KAUST Research Repository. They also have an integration with ORCID, so they are not only integrating their repository with digital object identifier DOIs, but they are also giving a credit to the contributors and have an integration with ORCID as well. I included here a couple of screenshots where we can see a use case for them integrating these research outputs that I mentioned with the DOI. So this is their thesis and dissertation collection, as we all can see, they have DOIs there, and they have also the author name and the ORCID ID. This is another example for a data set where they have also the DOI, and the publisher in this case will be KAUST Research Repository. Book with a DOI, really fantastic work. Presentation. So academic researcher attended a conference, gave a presentation, you will come back, put the presentation at the abstract of the presentation files, get a DOI also for that, include the metadata information about that presentation. Because it is still at the end of the day, that presentation is part of the contribution that this researcher is making to the research community. So it should be recognized, it should be visible with a digital object identifier. Regarding DataCite membership, so as I mentioned, we are a non-profit membership organization. We have 1,400 organizations in our community right now. So we have two main ways for a research organization, university to join us and start using our infrastructure to register DOIs for their repository. The first option is through a direct member. So in this case, a specific university will apply for a direct membership to connect to one or two or three even different repositories. So let's say they have a general research repository, and in the future, they are going to build a specific data repository or a specific ETDs repository. So they want to connect these two repository with DOIs so they can apply under a direct membership. We have another model. This is a more sustainable model to join us, and we promote this model because it's cost effective. It also increases the global adoption within a specific country or a specific subject area. The second option is a consortium. So this is when a group of like-minded organization or university, they will come together to start a DataCite DOI consortium. And in this case, we'll have a consortium lead. It can be one of these organizations. They can come up with a name across these different organizations. They will be appointed as a consortium lead. And then each university or each organization, we call it a consortium organization. And of course, the consortium or lead can be also a consortium organization because it can be a university or a research institute that they themselves, they have their own repository and they want to connect it with the DOIs. So in this case, each consortium organization join under this consortium and they can connect to 1, 2, 3, 4 repositories according to the number of repositories that they have with DataCite infrastructure, and they can start getting and assigning DOIs for all their research outputs. So who can lead a DataCite DOI consortium? As I said, we have a 1,400 organization in our community. We have more than 65 consortium leads in our community. And to be honest with you, we have a wide spectrum of organizations that are leading DataCite DOIs consortium in the region. We have national libraries in specific countries. We have library consortium. At some communities, there are existing library consortium that negotiate access with publishers and services for libraries. So one of the functions also that they will do is this library consortium will start a DataCite DOI consortium, and they give DOIs for the affiliated organization within this consortium. We have also seen national centers for documentation, the same national centers that assign ISSNs and other identifiers as well. They will be leading a consortium. In some countries, in some regions, we have university councils, or we have ministries of education or ministry of higher education will lead a DataCite DOI consortium to provide the universities and research institutions with DOIs. In some communities, for example, we have research and educational network. Like, for example, Nigeria in Africa, we have EcoConnect, one of the active RENs in Africa. They are providing the Nigerian university with DOIs. We are open for a group of universities like-minded, as I mentioned. They can come together and they can apply because they want to form a consortium. We require a consortium to have 4 organizations or 5 organizations or more, but we are open with that idea. So if you are interested, please reach out to me and we can have a conversation about that. Also, in some communities, we have leaders who are leading open science initiative in their community, so they can also start a DOI consortium, and they also can start providing their institution with digital object identifier. I included here also a very interesting example. I always refer to this example to highlight the power and the sustainability of DataCite consortium model. One of our most successful consortium is the UK Data Consortium at the United Kingdom. It's being led by the British Library, and within this community, within this consortium, sorry, as of September 2023 last year, we have 111 consortium members within this consortium. So what are these consortium organizations? A wide range of organizations. Are they mainly universities? No. We have universities, we have data centers, we have museums. Yes, museums can register DOIs for their digital collection, for their galleries as well. We have governmental bodies, we have national data centers. So we have a wide spectrum of organizations. Not only universities and the research institution are joining this consortium. And we have like more than 160 repositories connected through this consortium. And as I said, not all of them are research repositories, but they are a different type of repositories. And so far, like in 2023 until September, like more than 55,000 outputs are being registered under this consortium, which is really, really fantastic. Yeah, at the end, I think I'm approaching my last 3 slides. So this is an open invitation for you to join our community. We are a community around repositories, around supporting open research infrastructure. We are a community about making recognition for all your research outputs and resources. So as you can see at the left side, we have a members that are registering a wide range of research outputs from data sets, physical objects, even journal articles, audiovisual dissertation reports, interactive resources, books, data papers, a wide range of research outputs and resources. And we also do work with different types of repositories. We have institutional repository, we have disciplinary, multidisciplinary or project-related even repositories, governmental repositories. So we support a wide range of repositories. In terms of repository software, we work with various repository software like DSpace, ePrints, Dataverse, Fedora, Samvera, Open Journal System. So we can support a wide range of repository software. In terms also of repositories size, we have repositories that are registering 10 or 20 research outputs per year, to repositories like Zenodo, who have a total of 5 million items in their repository. So we can support different sizes of repository. Again, we built that open, robust infrastructure at DataCite. We have this fantastic sustainable membership model for institutions through the consortium model. When you join DataCite, you are not only getting DOIs for your research outputs and the resources, but you are joining a community. There are a chance for you to join one of our community engagement groups. We have different steering groups you can join. If you are interested in the technology sector, you can join the services and technology group. We have a regional expert group. We have a dedicated one for the Middle East and Europe, so you can join this one if you are interested. We have a metadata working group, so you can join, you can learn, you can interact with the global community, share your experiences as well. And we have different community activities that you can always participate in. We have our annual community meeting. We have DataCite Connect. This is like an in-person event that happens twice a year. The photo that you can see at the right side is from the DataCite Connect in Argentina last year. We have also member training session where we give a training session to our members to always be in touch with them. They get a chance if they have any support, if they need any, if they have any questions, if they have anything to share during this session. We have also open hours. We have regular webinars to talking to the community in different languages, bringing also experts from the regional communities to speak, giving them a platform to do that. And we participate in general in various conferences and events. So yeah, so this is an open invitation for you. If you have a repository at university or at your research institution, please join the movement, get DOIs for all your research outputs and resources, make them more discoverable, make them more visible. This will add a lot of value to your academic researchers, to your faculty members, and it will also bring more value to your overall university and the research institution. Yeah, and I think that's it, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Mo, for the wonderful presentation. We're just going to give people a second to type their questions because sometimes we think there are no questions, but actually people are just thinking a little bit. And I see you've gotten some applause, so people are very happy with everything that you've shared. Is there anything you feel about persistent identifiers? I know you've already mentioned some of the unique challenges in this region regarding persistent identifiers and DOIs, and in general, the lack of infrastructure that we have across the Arab region. But is there anything in particular, do you think, that needs to be really focused on, whether it's just in the year to come or something that hasn't been given enough visibility as like a real issue?
I see. This is an important point, Nahil. Thank you so much for sharing it. One of the important points that I always raise is the low levels of awareness. So again, thanks to Forum for giving up this opportunity for us to talk and to speak to the community. So the increasing the awareness levels across the different stakeholders within the community. So we are talking to the librarians, to the academic researchers, to the policymakers within these research institutions, increasing the added value and the awareness among them about the value of persistent identifiers. I remember there was a study that has been performed by the JISC in the UK, and this study highlighted if a specific Ministry of Higher Education started to adopt various persistent identifier in their research workflows, how they are going to save money. I can share the DOI for that study later. Because when you adopt these different persistent identifiers within your research ecosystem, within your grants, when you are launching a grant, you ask the institution to submit the grant through their ORCID ID so you can verify all this information. You ask that all research outputs also to get DOIs. So this can really save money, save time, save effort from the policymakers' time and effort, and also the academic researcher themselves. And we are also adding recognition. We are adding recognition to all these research outputs beyond the journal article, because they really need to be discoverable, they really need to be visible, and hopefully at the end to get more citation.
Yeah, I was just reading an article this morning from the Creative Commons talking about open culture, which is this whole movement of digitalizing cultural heritage and all of the kind of research and data that comes from different parts of the world. And I was thinking a lot about that in terms of the Arab world and how DOIs and persistent identifiers would really support and boost research from this region, because there's so much knowledge and there's centuries of data that we have, but it's difficult to locate. So I'm thinking of the different ways that DOIs, persistent identifiers, and digitalizing heritage can come together to push research even further from this region, which would be amazing. We have a question from Dr. Abab. Nice to see you. It is, does the DataCite accept and recognize any Arabic research work or documents written in Arabic language?
Yeah, so this is completely applicable if you want to insert and register a research output. Let's say you have a thesis in Arabic and you want to insert the metadata information within our metadata schema. We have 6 fields that are mandatory: the title, the year of the publication, the publisher name. If you would like to insert these information in Arabic, you are more than welcome, and the DOI will be visible to the community, discoverable in an Arabic language. So we will display through DataCite Commons the metadata information about your resource in Arabic. We don't have any problems at all. As I mentioned in one of the examples, it was from Thailand. They register all their data sets in Thai language, all the metadata information, their authors' names, the contributors, the abstract about this data set. All the details will be published in Thai, and it's visible and discoverable in their own language.
Thank you. We don't have any other questions coming from the participants. I would like to give everyone just a few more minutes just to give them an opportunity to ask. But as far as I'm concerned, I feel like everything that you just explained was very clear and concise. I've also already heard this in Arabic in December. So as a reminder to our participants, anyone who's asking for Arabic translation or who thinks they can understand this topic much more in their native language, if that happens to be in Arabic. We did host the event of the same title in Arabic in December, and you can find the recording on our website. I'm also seeing Stuart Cooper, who seems to be from Science Open, is sharing quite a few links and resources regarding DOIs and persistent identifiers. So thank you so much. This is what we love to see. We love to see our community coming together and supporting each other in terms of knowledge sharing. Thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, is there anything else that you would like to bring up, Mohammed, in terms of this topic? Do you feel like we've covered sort of everything? Oh, Dr. Abab is asking for your email.
I will share my email in the chat. Is it fine?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
I just want to say at the end, yeah, it's really, really important to start building that awareness within the Middle East and North Africa region to increase the awareness about the value of persistent identifiers, that they really can support various research outputs and the resources. It's really, really important to do so. It's important for you as an organization to register and make all your research outputs connected, not only your journal articles. So I'm sure, and I found that through my conversation across the MENA region, we produce a lot of research, whether in Arabic or in English as well. We have a lot of thesis and dissertation. We have a lot of surveys, data that we collected, but we are keeping it in our archives or repository hidden. So no, let's open up all these data. Let's connect it with various persistent identifier. Let's connect it with the global community. So discovery engines, citation databases can start to crawl all this information, even for specific resources. If you want to keep them closed, we fully understand that, but at least the metadata information about these resources can be openly available. It can be visible to the community. So if I am interested, I can reach out to the researcher directly and check with them if I can have access to the full text. But at least making recognition for all these research outputs is really, really important, especially now we are talking about the open science movement, open research movement. So if you really would like to join the movement, one of the important elements is to support open research infrastructure and to get various persistent identifiers, and not only DOIs, for all your research outputs. When you do that, you will help us achieving the goal of building a trusted research ecosystem where we can see recognition for research outputs and also the creators of these research outputs, the contributors and the affiliated organization, the institution that funded, that produced this work. So we are building a trust in that research ecosystem by adopting different types of persistent identifiers.
Absolutely. Perfectly said. Thank you
Thank
so much
you.
for joining us, and thank you for your time. Right before we wrap up the entire event, just a few more quick slides from Form's side. First thing is to say that we still have a lot of workshops and webinars coming your way in our 2024 program. The next one that is upcoming will be a interactive workshop. And it'll be how to be open, the researchers edition. So it'll be targeting researchers and discussing how you can go about publishing or presenting your research in an open way. Our facilitators will be representatives from the open science community of Egypt, the open science community of Saudi, and I believe it's the African Reproducibility Network. But more details of that will be out on our website soon. If you're interested, please register your interest and we'll send you all the full details as soon as they're published. Next, I would just like to invite everybody to join our Slack community. It's where we post about most of our events, any updates that we have. It's also a great way for you to interact one-on-one, not just with us, of course, with us as well, but also interact with each other. So if you feel that there's anyone from the network that you've been wanting to reach out to, that you have a question for, you can use our Slack channel to communicate with people on a one-on-one, and then also share your own announcements, share your updates, share your resources with the community as well. It's not just us speaking into a void. We also want to hear from you. So if you're interested, please email me or form at contact@forumforopen.org, and we'll add you on to the community. And then last thing is our third annual forum, which I mentioned at the top of the event, is officially live. We are officially accepting call for papers, or asking for submissions for call for papers and proposals. Our registration is now also open. The theme for this year is transforming knowledge into action. And our thematic areas where we're going to be accepting proposals are policy and funding, open access publishing and open education resources, capacity building and community engagement, and open infrastructure and infrastructure supporting open science. So if you have any research on these subjects, if you want to know more, we do go into a bit more detail on our website. Please do scan this QR code or just go on to the forumforopenresearch.com website and you can get all of the information about the call for papers on there. We also have created a little video for you to help guide you in case you need any support on how to submit a call for papers or submit a proposal or an abstract for a conference in general, but specifically in this case for us. Yeah, so like I said, if you're interested in submitting a proposal or just want to know a bit more, please do go on the website. Finally, please just take a second if you have the time to scan our QR code and leave your feedback on our survey. It's a very short survey. It takes about 5 to 7 minutes to answer, probably less depending on how fast you type, but it really helps us understand what it is that we have done well, what we can do better, how we can improve, and what you are looking for when you come to these community activities, because we really are trying to center this entire program and everything that we do around your needs as our community. And yeah, thank you so much. And we look forward to seeing you, inshallah, at the next community development activity and also hopefully at our annual forum. It's going to be held in Doha this year, but it's also hybrid. I forgot to mention that. It's also hybrid. So we will be accepting online as well as in-person presentations, and you will be able to access either in person or online. Yeah, thanks so much. Have a good Wednesday, and we'll see you guys soon.